Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a topic that's become increasingly controversial and divisive: teaching transgenderism in early schools. More specifically, we're going to explore why introducing these concepts at such a young age might be out of logic, how Catholic beliefs are being penalized in this context, and what the long-term consequences could be for our civilization. This is a sensitive issue that affects not only the children and families directly involved, but society as a whole. So, let's break this down carefully, respectfully, and logically. To begin with, let's talk about early education. Children in elementary school are at a crucial stage of development. They're learning basic skills: reading, writing, math, social interaction. At this age, their minds are incredibly impressionable and malleable, and their understanding of the world is still to be grounded. Education at this stage is supposed to focus on the fundamentals. We introduce children to the basics of science, history, and social studies knowledge that helps them understand the world around them in a factual and logical way. Although, in my personal opinion, I start to introduce social skills and finance awareness. However, when we introduce complex and highly debated social topics like transgenderism, we are expecting these young minds to grasp and process ideas that even adults struggle to fully comprehend and deliver. The primary concern here is that children at this age do not have the cognitive maturity to fully understand what gender identity means, let alone the complex medical, psychological, and social implications that come with discussions of transgenderism. The logic behind teaching such concepts to very young children is questionable, to say the least. It's one thing to teach children about kindness, respect, and understanding of differences; these are universal values. But it's another to introduce them to concepts that require a more developed understanding of biology, identity, and societal norms. This clearly biased teaching. Many child psychologists agree that early childhood is not the appropriate time to introduce topics that are so complex and still under much scientific debate. It can create confusion and anxiety in children who are still trying to understand the basic differences between sexes, with much less than crystal clear concepts like gender fluidity or transitioning. Now, let's move on to another critical aspect: how the push to include transgenderism in early education impacts those who hold Catholic beliefs, or really, any traditional religious views. The Catholic Church, like many religious institutions, teaches that gender is a God-given aspect of human nature, rooted in biology and not in subjective identity. For Catholics, the idea that gender is fluid, or that a person can choose their gender, contradicts core teachings about the nature of humanity, as described in the Bible. Genesis 1:27 says, "So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female he created them." This belief is not just a matter of tradition, but a fundamental aspect of how Catholics understand human identity. But what happens when the education system begins teaching children something that directly contradicts their family's religious beliefs? Increasingly, we're seeing Catholic and other religious families being marginalized or even penalized for holding to their beliefs. In some cases, parents are not allowed to opt their children out of these lessons, and teachers who express their religious objections are at risk of losing their jobs. In the same fashion, they are capped in their career or company development due to this. This creates a chilling effect where Catholic beliefs are not just sidelined, but actively suppressed. It sends a message to children that their family's beliefs are wrong, outdated, or even harmful. This kind of cultural pressure can cause internal conflicts for young children, who may feel torn between what they're being taught at school and what they learn at home and church. Now, let's discuss the long-term consequences of introducing transgenderism education at such an early age. When we start teaching children that gender is fluid and that they can choose their gender, we're laying the groundwork for a society that views identity as something entirely subjective. Ergo, moral relativism is their actual groundwork. One of the most profound consequences of this shift is the breakdown of the family unit. Traditionally, the family is built on the foundation of biological relationships, clear gender roles, and nuclear union. While these roles have evolved over time, the concept of family has always been rooted in the natural differences between men and women. When we blur these distinctions, we risk undermining the very concept of what it means to be a nuclear family. The family has always been the cornerstone of civilization. It's where life starts and where children learn values, ethics, and social norms. If we deconstruct the idea of gender within the family, we will see long-term effects that extend far beyond individual households. This leads to greater social instability, as children who are taught that their gender is entirely flexible may struggle with identity issues well into adulthood. Moreover, when we prioritize subjective identity over objective reality, we risk losing a shared understanding of truth in society. The moral relativism increase will have the counterpart of decrease on individual and familiar criteria, therefore, and serfdom to anything labeled as good, inclusive, progressive, equal, etc. A civilization that cannot agree on basic facts, such as biological differences between men and women, will struggle to find common ground on other, more complex issues. This is leading to increased polarization, as we are already seeing in many parts of the world today, leaving behind irreversible rifts for those who are most affected. Another significant concern is the penalization of anyone who dares to dissent from the dominant narrative. We are seeing a growing trend where individuals, whether parents, teachers, or even students, who express concerns or disagree with the teaching of transgenderism in schools are being silenced or punished, like this clip of Enoch Burke, teacher of Wilson's Hospital School. Have a look.
Here at Wilson's Hospital School, this is Enoch Burke, teacher, being arrested for not accepting transgenderism.
Nor should I. And I'm not going to turn my back on my duty to my students.
I'm not going to turn back on my duty.
No, you don't have a duty to do what's wrong.
No, you never
and to
have a
bring me
duty
before
to
the
do
court.
Even
To bring me before the court.
inside those
No,
gates.
to bring me before the
Even though
court.
there's abuse.
This is a
Puberty
disgrace.
blockers.
Children are being
Puberty
taught
blockers.
to tell a young boy.
Surgery.
Yes, surgery, mutilation.
Yes.
Mutilation.
It's a
And
disgrace.
an absolute
Mutilation.
disgrace.
Absolute disgrace.
Mutilation.
An absolute
You're
disgrace.
telling a boy that he's
Blockers.
gender
You have
neutral.
conscience.
Yeah, that he has to take chemicals. That he has to
Absolutely.
take
He has
chemicals.
broken no
law.
That
He
he has
has
to
broken
take
no
chemicals.
law.
Be heavy handed.
that, Garda.
No, that he has to
He has
take
broken
chemicals.
no law.
I'm not going to be heavy handed.
He has broken no law.
Shame upon you.
You have no right.
Shame upon you, Gardaí. Shame upon you.
You've no right to do what you're doing.
This is for
This is an innocent teacher, a Christian man.
Has broken no
And
law.
I won't.
Shame upon you, and Gardaí Síochána.
Mr. Burke has broken no
shouldn't
law.
be asked
He
to
has
endorse
broken
it.
no law.
I have a right to my job.
His
I have a right to work
constitution.
here.
He has a right.
I have a right to be here. And
You're arresting
not
him.
to tell students
You
they
won't
need to
promote
tell
puberty
puberty
blockers.
blockers.
You're arresting him
Not
because
to
he
tell
won't
students
endorse
that they need to take
transgender ideology.
Disgrace.
Shame upon you,
Shame on
Gardaí.
you.
Shame on you.
Shame on
Gardaí
you.
man.
Shame.
So you've just seen what happened there. We're here at Wilson's Hospital School in Multyfarnham, County Westmeath. Enoch Burke just thrown in the back of a Garda van, locked up, taken away from his place of work. It was demanded of him that he accept, that he endorse transgenderism. And this is the result of it today. He said no, and he's been taken away in a Garda van.
Now, Enoch Burke didn't appear in court on Friday. I was there with Amy, my daughter, and of course we were removed from the court at the end for simply asking Justice Barry O'Donnell, did he not care that children are being abused at this stage in Irish schools? Because using the they pronoun is the first step in puberty blockers, abuse, surgery, terrible agony for young people, maybe regret, suicide.
Yes.
This is a fact.
That's the truth.
This suppression of dissenting opinions is deeply troubling because it stifles open dialogue and critical thinking to pillars of a healthy democracy. When people are afraid to speak out or question the prevailing narrative, we lose the ability to have meaningful discussions about important issues. Instead of fostering understanding, this creates an environment of embedded fear and conformity. This programs the society for totalitarianism and opens the door for dictatorship. So, what's the alternative? How can we approach these sensitive topics in a way that respects all viewpoints and doesn't impose one ideology over another? One approach could be to focus on teaching children universal values like kindness, respect, and empathy without introducing them to concepts that are not age-appropriate or that conflict with their family's religious beliefs. This can only create dissonances in which institutions like United Nations are working towards. Another alternative is to allow parents more control over what their children are taught in school, especially on topics that are highly controversial and personal. Parents should have the right to opt their children out of lessons that they believe are inappropriate or that contradict their beliefs. Schools should also provide resources, a clear picture of the curriculum, most concretely for parents that going to be in dissonance with certain learning topics. My honest opinion is that, just as the Industrial Revolution shaped individuals from an early age to maximize their productivity during the rise of capitalism, today's learning system has become a perfect manufacturing machine for customizable individuals. This system is designed not only to maximize productivity, but also to ensure the acceptance of moral extremes within their given framework. To clarify, I brought along a couple of quotes from Friedrich August von Hayek, an economist of the Austrian school, who in his book The Road to Serfdom said, "Our freedom of choice in a competitive society rests on the fact that, if one person refuses to satisfy our wishes, we can turn to another. But if we face a monopolist, we are at his mercy. And an authority directing the whole economic system would be the most powerful monopolist conceivable. While we need probably not be afraid that such an authority would exploit this power in the manner in which a private monopolist would do so, while its purpose would presumably not be the extortion of maximum financial gain, it would have complete power to decide what we are to be given, and on what terms. It would not only decide what commodities and services were to be available, and in what quantities. It would be able to direct their distribution between districts and groups and could, if it wished, discriminate between persons to any degree it liked. Probably it is true enough that the great majority are rarely capable of thinking independently, that on most questions they accept views which they find ready-made, and that they will be equally content if born or coaxed into one set of beliefs or another. In any society, freedom of thought will probably be of direct significance only for a small minority. But this does not mean that anyone is competent, or ought to have power, to select those to whom this freedom is to be reserved. It certainly does not justify the presumption of any group of people to claim the right to determine what people ought to think or believe. In conclusion, while the intentions behind teaching transgenderism in early schools may be rooted in promoting inclusivity and understanding, it's important to consider whether this is the best approach for young children. We must also recognize the impact this has on religious beliefs, particularly Catholic teachings, and the potential long-term consequences for our civilization. As always, it's crucial that we approach these discussions with respect, understanding, and a commitment to finding solutions that benefit all members of society. Thank you for watching. If you found this video insightful, please give it a thumbs up, share it with others, and don't forget to subscribe for more thoughtful content. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. See you next time.